Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to one of the most exclusive clubs around. It is the Tuesday-ish club and a conversation only available in the Players' Lounge with Mr. Super Kevin Campbell and David Hillier. Here we go. It's another live edition of the Highbury Squad.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, no matter where in the world you may be. Welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. And joining me once again is my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Squaddies at ease.
Well done, Kev. Well done. Mr. David Hillier will be joining us in just a few. He's having a few technical issues. A bit like that wardrobe malfunction between Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake in the Super Bowl final. Mr. David Hillier is having a technology malfunction, but he will be with us soon. Hello to the usual suspects. Welcome to the show. Thank you. Well done, Newman. Shocked you haven't had a card in the last few days. MK's with us, Mark, Lone Star, Archangel, all of K Marlon, Tammy. Hello, Tammy. Hi, Rich. How you doing? Matty K. Everyone's here, Kev. Everyone's here. And to all of our new listeners who have joined us, Kev. So we've had 2,000 new folks join us on the Highbury Squad in the last 8 weeks. And also we've had a bunch of new followers on Twitter. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone for finding us, following us and engaging with us, Kev. I know we both love it and we both welcome new listeners every single day of the week. We respect the OGs, as they say, and we love the new folks who are coming on board as well.
Yeah, I love the new folks that are coming on board. And I've got a nice little question for them. Whenever Sophie puts Vinny up and he's smashing that like button, that's when you hit the like button. Okay?
Well, he's here. He's ready. He's ready,
Go
Kev.
on, Vinny! It's it! Go on, Vinny.
Kev, I needed some of your energy because and yeah, thanks. You guys have been with us from the beginning and we really, really appreciate you very much. Kev, I needed your energy today because I'm the sad Arsenal fan who's been up since 1 o'clock in the morning, my time. Just looking, have we signed anyone? Have we signed anyone?
Is it wearing you down a bit, Soph?
I'm not going to lie. I'm feeling mentally exhausted.
Drained. Listen, it's happened to a lot of people. A lot of people are, not only are they frustrated, but they're fed up now. That's the other thing, Soph. I think when you see players that are there who you truly believe we've got a chance to get, Basuma's been there all this time and he's still there.
He's still there, Kev.
He's still there. So, again, whether Brighton are not selling, that might be the other thing. Brighton might not be selling, but it is a frustrating one. It really is.
Well, Kev, I think our business is done. Do you agree? There's going to be nothing.
100%. Yeah, there's no more.
Yeah, there's no more. That was it. That was it. And we're going to get everyone in chat, the squaddies, to rate us. To rate the club for the transfer window. Kev, before Hilsey comes in, because I wanted to get your guys' take from a player point of view in a different fashion. I'm kind of not with it today, and I'm with it. So let's just keep it at that. But the good news is you've got Super Kevin Campbell, who's with it and on it every single day. Oh.
Ready, energetic, and ready to go. Come on.
Get
Bruk
in.
it up. Bruk them up. Come on.
Oh, Kev, look
Come
at this. A listener sent me this the other day.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Simon on Twitter. I've got to get his handle. I haven't done this
Wow, that's
properly, but I
fantastic.
will.
That is.
How cute is that? Not me, but cute of him to do
No,
that
but
in his
that's
own
that's
time,
lovely.
Kevin.
Look at that. And listen, I'm getting nowhere near that. I'm telling you, my head's coming off because that looks like that's ready to chop.
He wrote me on Twitter and he said, I hope you don't mind, but I did this. And I'm like, mind? I'm like, how amazing is it that you took the time out of your day to do that? I mean, this is what
there's some competition going on.
And I'm going to read a whole bunch of emails on Friday when we do Kevin Says, because there have been a lot of fantastic notes from you guys and letters and stuff like that. And as you know, Friday is every day's your show, but Friday especially is your show. And I know Kev's going to come prepped for some great questions for you. So Kev, let's just start with doing something simple. Transfer window is going to close. Thank God. We can get on with the football after the international break and really start to see this Arteta team emerge, hopefully. Mm-hmm. What's the grade you give the club for this window? And I'm going to give you some criteria too, because we don't have European football. So in my opinion, our profile is maybe more second tier than top tier, but that doesn't mean second tier can't work. Give us your take on where you rank the club.
I think I would give it a 6. And the reason why I will give it a 6 is because they went and got a right back. And I've spoken to quite a few people today who reckon this guy he's a decent defender and he's a really good passer of the ball. Not the attacking fullback that we think we need. But you know, the most important thing for a defender is to be able to defend. Mm-hmm. And this guy can defend, and he's good on the ball. He's a good passer of the ball. So I give it a 6. Yeah, I would have loved it to be an 8 or 9, but we still do have some holes in the squad, and our squad isn't nowhere near as strong enough as we want it to be. But we do need our signings and main players back to give us a lot better chance.
Okay, so I want to play this clip for you. I don't know this guy's name. He's on Sky Sports, but he's one of the main transfer guys. And I was a bit alarmed by this quote because I heard it live and then a listener sent it to me as well. And I think I sent it to you. I don't know if you've had time to look at it, Kev.
I've seen it.
Play it.
Yeah,
okay,
play it anyway.
Play it for anyone who hasn't seen it. Okay.
Agents involved in the deal that contacted me to say, do you know any other Premier League clubs, any Premier League clubs looking for a right back? I've just got a message to say Tomiyasu was offered to most clubs in the Premier League. He's a good player, but the problem is he's not really a right back, nor is he a central defender. I'm not sure how he will get on at Arsenal. So that is one of the agents who was trying to find him a club. But just confirming the information we have is that this was a player who was...
Does he say what position he is?
People were trying to place him at a Premier League club, and he's got his move to Arsenal.
Right back. I've seen him play right back. I'm pretty sure he's a right back anyway. Okay.
Agents involved in the deal.
I mean, even I, who don't watch as much Italian football as everybody, I like to keep myself informed on world football. I have seen him play in that position. Is this guy anti-Arsenal? Like, can you help me understand? Because obviously I watch Sky Sports News in the morning here, but it's a different mix of people whenever I watch it. Kev?
Well, sometimes what happens is they listen to obviously other people who are saying what they've got to say. Now, relaying that back just throws shade on Arsenal like they don't know what they're doing. But that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. He can play centre-back and he can play right-back. He's played right-back most of the time. He's a Japanese international. So if he's not a right-back or a centre-back, what position does he play then? Do you understand what I mean? It makes no sense. It's nonsense.
He also said, and this is a different quote earlier in that he got a call from the agent. And I don't know if Takehiro, and if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, someone in chat's going to correct me. Thank you. Saying that his agent asked him, he goes, "Do you know any Premier League teams that are looking for a right back?" Is that real? I just find that hard to believe.
I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe. So when did they call him Arsenal, up? Earlier on today?
No, early. He didn't say exactly when. 2 weeks ago, maybe, I think he said. And I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. And then we've seen these other posts from how Spurs were after him, of course. But we know now they have Emerson Royal.
Who we mentioned a long time last season. Mentioned it.
Last year, Kevin.
Last year.
He was on the list of, we had Dest and we had Royal.
From Betis, him and
Yes.
Fekir would be the ones.
Yes. When we did the show with Potsy back in when we were putting our wish list together. So I know that the media want to bash us. We're trendy. We are like, you know,
we're
like
the
that
fodder
designer
at the moment.
Yeah.
We're fodder.
Yeah, but you know what? We're like, you know, sometimes Alexander McQueen, he was just such an amazing designer, and he was this outrageous creative guy that was wacky and tried new and different things that no one would even dare. And sometimes people had pops at him and sometimes people lauded him. So I'm hoping that we end up being one of Alexander McQueen's most finest design outfits, Kev, to the point where people look back on this and say, wow, look what they did. Lokonga, Tavares, Ben White, this Japanese guy, who knew? But I tell you, it's high risk, isn't it?
Well, it's always risk. It is always risk. And if you remember, we discussed about, we may not have to go for the big names, Sophie, but we got to go for functional players who can actually do the job. Mm-hmm. Because as proven at Manchester City, we have players in the squad who cannot do the job. So I'd rather we change those players and we get players in who could function and do the job. Play for the badge on the front, and we'll remember your name on the back, right?
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you. I said, I can't remember where I said it, but I said, like, I'd rather lose with a couple under 23 players involved than seeing Kolasinac play again, or Chambers, or any one of those. And so why not, you know, give these guys a chance. Now, I've reached out to a couple of my informer friends in Italy, and I think Bologna conceded 65 goals last season, Kev. But he was definitely a player that was not, I'm not going to say superstar or star in the team, but neat, I think, is the right word for him. He's very neat. He's very tidy. You've already seen people post the videos of him tackling Ronaldo, of course. Why wouldn't you when you want to promote a new signing like that? And to be honest with you, when you look at our options at right back, and you've seen what's happened with Maitland-Niles over the last couple of days, he could be, but why not take a risk? In modern day football, that fee, is it too much? Like Mavropanos is 8 million, but he's 20 million, but Mavropanos is more known than, I don't know. It just, the money we pay versus what we sell for.
It doesn't always work out that way in the money you spend. It's a negotiation at the end of the day. And he's an international player. And what Bologna are good at, they buy cheap and they develop. That's what they do, and they've done another good deal.
Hey,
Hills,
there he is, at ease.
Thank you very much. Apologies for the inconvenience of the internet, but we resolved it. Hopefully, I haven't missed too much. We're talking a bit of Bologna there, Kev.
Yeah, just talking about the new right back, new signing, and. Bologna buy cheap and they develop and then sell. That's the type of club that they are. And look, I've spoke to quite a few people, Hills, who reckon he's a decent player. He's a good defender. That's number one on the list, a good defender. and he's pretty much both-footed. He's a good passer of the ball with both feet, so who can also play centre back. So,
and as Archie says, Super Kevin David, Atalanta were definitely after him, and you know what? I know Spurs ended up with Royal, but they wanted this guy as well in July. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know too much about him. I've reached out to my Italian counterparts to see. And David, what I was saying is they say he's neat, he's tidy, he's good in the air, and that he'll complement Ben White pretty well with having that outlet on that side.
Here is quick as well. I hear he's quick as well.
I'm pretty much with like all what you're saying. I mean, I don't know much about him. I was trying to have a little read up in the last sort of hour or two about the guy, and a little bit of speculation over whether he's. I'm just a little bit worried that he's not a dedicated like right back on that. But I don't know if you get them anymore, Kev. I don't know if you get a player that is solely that position. Obviously, I would have liked to see Kieran Trippier come. I think he's a great player. I think pace, power. Either he's used to the English league. Someone like that. Someone who I know.
Experience.
Who's someone who I know. Yeah, he's got that experience. Someone who I know who's got a pedigree. But yeah, it's an interesting signing. I like the link you sent me, Soph, about what position he actually plays in. That was a bit vague on Sky Sports, wasn't they?
Just a touch.
Yeah,
that was it's a little worrying.
Yeah, it was a little worrying, but I think that's almost like propaganda, isn't it? It's put out there just to stir people up a little bit. It's delivered like that. But like Kev said, he's an exciting prospect. They do build players up, Bologna, and make profits on them. So that's their business. They're in the right business. But if we can profit from that, and we need a right back, it looks like Hector's gone. I'm not sure if he's completed his deal yet, but I think it's a position we needed to sort out, definitely.
Okay, so one thing you guys have always said when we've talked is how relying on young players, and we've already seen after 3 games the pressure that a Xhaka and Emile Smith-Rowe are under. You've got Martinelli, who hopefully is going to get his chances this season. Even Kieran Tierney looks a little bit jaded so far. It's we haven't seen the best 11 out. There's no doubt about that. But we've seen enough from last season to know that hopefully Arteta can pull this together with the new players that he's got coming in. But our profile, and I'll start with you, David, is young. So the average age of the player that we've bought is 22. Are you worried about that when you and Kev have both said that having senior players who can be strong for the younger players, can lead by example, and that we've lacked that a little bit? You see Xhaka getting sent off again, and we'll get to that eventually. But are you concerned about that at all?
I'm a little bit concerned. I think age is just a number, because sometimes you get players that are mature enough to carry people and lead teams in their early 20s. So it's not just about the age; it's about the sort of maturity and the experience of the players. And when I look at the shoulders that it's falling on at the moment, Emile Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka mainly, really, I think in those forward positions, certainly to make the difference. It's a lot of pressure on them. And while we're talking about this, obviously the Reece Nelson move, I think that could have been nudged along a bit by this what we're talking about now, this situation that he doesn't feel that he wants the pressure on his shoulders. He'd rather go somewhere else and get his experience than have all the beef put on him at the end of the season. If Arsenal don't do well as a young player, he didn't step up, and it will be those. I do worry about those young players who it's falling on. But where do you look to in this side? Like you said, Granit Xhaka, Rob Holding, probably one of our most experienced players on the pitch in our last game. I mean, I look around that side and I'm sort of losing the backbone of it in experience, and that's definitely what we need to fill. But I don't know where we fill it from, to be honest with you. It should be coming through the ranks, and it would be great if it was coming through the ranks, and it had done. So we had 2 or 3 people who had come all the way through and stayed there. But it's just not that way anymore. So it's down to the markets and buying right. And we are buying young players. So it's, it does worry me. It definitely does worry me, Soph.
Kev, does it worry you? You've been really consistent on your concern about putting it on the shoulders of these young players. Obviously Ben White's had experience playing for Leeds and Brighton. Lokonga was captain of Anderlecht. Tavares may be one that comes through with a little less of the experience. You've got, the Japanese player we've signed today who's played in Serie A and played against some top tier players. You've still got Odegaard.
So they're not coming into a club that's happy to float around mid-table and just have decent players around. They're coming into a club that's expected to finish in those top positions. And there's a demand for that, with the investment, with the stadium, with everything that's gone on in the last few years. Arsenal are expected to be up there. They put themselves in that bracket. And sort of before that, we was. So these players are not coming into just the Premier League playing, 38 games a season, hopefully, and ticking around in the middle of the league playing well. They got a lot of pressure on them. It's a bit different playing for Arsenal. So that's what I'm saying with these young players at Arsenal. I'm saying there's a lot of pressure on these youngsters, and at the moment, there's no pressure release for them. These signings are just, like you said, more young players who are going to hopefully invigorate the team. But are they going to consolidate it?
There's only really one.
Just the thing we're looking at, Kev.
Well, there's only really one way we're going to find out. The key to the question, I believe, is it's not just young players who have played. There are young players there who have some experience. As Lokonga's captain Anderlecht, Ben White's played a couple of seasons consistently now. Tomiyasu, he's coming in at right back. We're waiting for Gabriel to come back. We're waiting for Partey to come in there. Odegaard's there. We know Odegaard has played. He's a captain of Norway, etc. So once you get all those players in, I believe we're going to look and feel a lot different because there is some real experience in there. Our real problems are when you get past that. The quality just isn't there. And sometimes it flatters to deceive because sometimes they do okay. But when we boil it down, this is the fourth manager that they've had where they haven't done it. Let's just be brutally honest. We need the new boys to settle as quickly as we can. That's the most we could hope for, because we know sometimes it takes time. But at Arsenal right now, we haven't got the time.
I'm going to ask you guys a question, and I want everyone to take it in the spirit of which I'm asking it, because the trust at Arsenal Football Club right now is very limited, and I want to ask genuinely this. I hope this player is talented, and I hope that he does have an impact on the team, because my other side of the brain, the head side, not the heart side, is saying we really need to build up our fan base, and the Asian market is huge. And we've seen the impact Son has had for Tottenham, and other players who have played for big clubs have a huge impact in selling merchandise and a lot more when it comes to how we're really trying to build a new generation of Arsenal fans, because it's been hard to do that because we've lacked success in the Premier League. Is there any chance that this is a move as well to build a market? Because commercially, teams do think like that these days. Or am I stretching here, David?
Well, I was just looking to get up, try and find a red card, all right, and just show it to you right now, because I can't see where that, no disrespect, so, but I can't see where the point of marketing and merchandise comes when we're talking about trying to better our squad. That cannot be a reason for bringing a player into a football club, especially not a football club that are struggling for someone in that position and you need someone decent. I'd hate to think that my football club were trying to explore or expose a little bit of a market to try and, get some dollars in. It's not about that. It's about the football. You know, that's what I'm here certainly to talk about. And if they're interested in anything other than football, then that's where it's all going wrong. If it's marketing and Arsenal are interested in that, then that's where it's going wrong, because it's about the football. It's about what happens on the pitch. And yeah, I'm a bit, I don't know, a little bit taken aback by that, Soph, I must say.
But I mean, if you're that's how KSE think. MK put it up there, I think, just as well a second ago. It's the way of the world. Everyone thinks about branding and marketing.
But the more people that think about it, then the more people that endorse it. We want the football. We want the football. So I want the best player in that position. If he is the best player and he earns them 50 million,
and he ticks a couple of boxes,
fair play.
Yeah.
But he's got to be the best player.
He's got to be the player.
I'm just coming from the football position. I don't care whether the stadium's full every week.
I'm coming from the football.
Arsenal to play well.
I'm coming from the football position. If we wanted to sign the best right back that really fits in with the way Arteta wants to play, then why didn't we sign someone like Max Aarons? I mean, you know,
I don't know. But you couldn't say we didn't sign Max Aarons because he ain't as marketable as Toshi, my friend, or you know, it's not going to be. Tomiyasu. It's not. I don't know. It just
look what Arsenal Manic is saying. PSG and Man United have bought Messi and Ronaldo 90% of marketing. I mean, PSG's Instagram doubled when they bought Messi.
Yeah.
And
but that's a different end of the market. PSG ain't struggling at the bottom of their division.
And they're signing the goal
first. I'm asking a question. I'm asking a question because there are some people that think that way.
Let me say my piece on this.
Sure.
I totally understand what you're saying, Soph. Hills, it's the football first, 100%. But I think is this a strategic move that ticks both boxes for Arsenal? Maybe it is. But if he wasn't good enough on the pitch, they wouldn't make the move because they're next in the block, Soph. They're next in the block. Because what's the point in signing somebody who can't do the job? And we've already got 3 right backs there who we don't want. It makes no sense. So the fact of the matter is, he is a capable player. He can defend. And he ticks a box for marketing as well. Hey, wonderful. So I think there's a thinking and a thought process that we kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. It's great. But I don't put it past Arsenal not to have that marketing angle as well, 100%, but he's got to do the business on the pitch.
Okay, so I want you both to now take me into what's happening behind the scenes. You guys, we get so lucky on the Tuesday-ish club shows because Super Kev and Hillsy take us into a place that not a lot of other shows can. So guys...
So you said it was... Did you say it was Tuesday?
Ish. Tuesday-ish.
Tuesday. Hold on 1 second. Let me just get over that. Let's get up here. Gotta love a Tuesday.
The Tuesday Club.
Oh, we're gonna need one of these. We're gonna need one
need
of
a
these.
lot of them.
All right. So I want you guys to take me behind the scenes. We'll start with being at the club on. Now it's definitely changed the transfer deadline day, but even so, you know, new players coming in, and especially like foreign players coming in. You know, you saw the likes of Limpar, Jensen, you know, come in. Take me behind the scenes, David. I'll start with you. When new players come in, what's happening? What's the take? What happens the next day? Training, like talk us through your experiences of this moment as ex-players. This is the bit that fans really want to know.
Yeah, and do you know what? I don't know if it's different now, but obviously I can only talk about when players came into the club or clubs when I was at them back in the day. And I was excited. I was always excited to meet them. I don't think I met one player that wasn't like over the moon to be at Arsenal and, you know, just fitted in straight away. Everybody, even players that didn't play much and had their issues. I mean, Ziggy Johnson, I mean, he came along, he was like, you know, just from a different planet, but he was a lovely guy. Like you said, you had Anders. Yeah, when they came along, you just wanted to see what they had. You know, there was never any threat, even when, for me, certainly not until Patrick Vieira came and I got booted out the side. But other than that, but that's, you know, I've kind of understood that. But I think when they came along now, I think we just embraced them, and it was a real, I don't want to say the word football family, because I'm not a fan of it being a family. I want it to be a competitive environment. But as far as that, they was just the same people, just from a different place, and they just come in to play for the club. All the signings, even the very best in Bergkamp, you know, when he came, he was just the same as when JJ came. You know, just the same person, honest, straight up footballer, came from the same sort of background. Yeah, never any kind of problems. I always enjoyed it. I don't know how Kev felt. Maybe he felt a bit more threatened because up front, you know, when the big strikers come in, you think you're not going to play. But obviously, you know, Kev see them off when he had to. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it when new players came. It brought something to the club.
Yeah, for me, Hills, it was an exciting part of the Arsenal, because coming from abroad, normally we're signing players from England, but coming from abroad, it's a different culture, it's a different way. You know, you want to see how good they are, because you hear about all these European players, and you want to see how actually good they are in training, and the level of training goes up. That's the other thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Everybody.
I think, Kev, I think they came to Arsenal when certainly when I was at Arsenal. Mm-hmm. The feeling I got is when those players came to Arsenal, they felt privileged to be there. Yeah. Whatever level player came,
they were.
Whether they came as a not a first team regular, but someone who's going to be on the outside, like Glenn Helder, possibly, mm-hmm. to someone who was going to be bang on involved all the time, to that, like David Platt. Mm-hmm. They all felt they was coming to better themselves at Arsenal, and they was so when they came in, there was no big time or anything about them. Whether they drove an Aston Martin or they drove a Escort, it made no difference. They was a little bit overwhelmed. It was Arsenal Football Club, and they had a big job on their hands. So when they came there, I'd been there for six years. I've been there with you, Kev, from a baby. So us walking in the JVC Centre or into the East Upper and doing our steps up and down the stands when we used to train was nothing for us. It was just like a normal day. But for them people, they was doing it at the Arsenal now. They've been brought in by the Arsenal. Yeah. So it was a big level up. You know, even though we come from different places. So yeah, I think they all loved and were privileged to come to the Arsenal back then. I'm not so sure if it's like that now. I think it's more of a business for players, which is unfortunate. You know, their career choices rather than just want to be winner choices and be with the best teams. I think I made my choices in football down to that. Certainly in the early years, in the formative years. In the last few, obviously, you're trying to make a few quid. But certainly mine was all based on winning.
So this is why I mean I mentioned the brand part, because a lot of players do think about they're a brand. The team was always the brand, and now you actually see a new generation of fans.
No, the club was the brand.
The team, the club. Yes, the club. That's history, what I meant. I correct myself.
The Woolwich Arsenal, the Cannons, the move into North London, you know, the Art Deco Stadium, all of that.
Marble Halls, it's all part.
It was all ingrained in us. You know, me and Kev would scrub them with soap powder. We would scrub the halls and the floors with soap powder after games.
We'd do all that.
And that made you have a connection. And you know what? Tony Adams did it before us. They all did it. Kenny Sanson, you know, all of the people that have been big legends at Arsenal have done that. And I don't know if you can feel that anymore. I'm not so sure. And like you said, it may be a career or a marketing move for some of these players.
The connection,
so this is why,
the connection.
Go on,
I think that's what you're going to say, Soph.
Yes.
The connection is different now.
Yes, it is. And here's why it's so important that some people think, oh, look at them throwing like Xhaka in the 7 shirt and taking his picture near Rocky and what. No, it's so important that the academy, the Halen boys, they get that Xhaka can carry that tradition through, even though he may not have scrubbed floors like you guys, and Emil Smith-Rowe the same, and Maitland-Niles and Joe Willock, who's no longer there anymore, but Reece Nelson, you know, Eddie, all these young players who have come through and been there since they were kids. I mean, I don't want to go back to the whole let's clean boots and let's make everyone polish floors, but I wish that was still the case, because it makes you have this appreciation for it. And this is why I love talking to you guys about it, because I hope that in this new Arsenal under Arteta, because this is truly going to be his team now, Kev, that they understand that. Who is there to teach them this history and understanding? And
well, here's
Bellerin's gone now. Bellerin's our most senior long-term player. He's gone.
You've got Perry Groves. He does the stadium tours. He teaches the history of Arsenal now. That's really, and I'm not being flippant when I say that. That is all you're going to get out of Arsenal now, as far as the history goes. Is if you go on stadium tours and stuff like that, because it's going to get lost, like in the way football is now. It's just going to get lost a little bit.
Not gonna. It is lost, Hills.
Yeah,
it is lost.
I can't keep scratching trying to find it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We've got to look at how we.
There's a real important point I want to make. When we used to clean floors, and we used to have to wait outside the dressing room for the first team to finish, shower or whatever, the respect between the lads who were doing the jobs and the first team was always there. Now, I don't really see the connection, because that then connected everyone to the fan base. So it used to run down. Now, we're all over the place. To me, we've got two shining lights in the Xhaka and Smith-Rowe, obviously with Martinelli coming up, etc. Really talented players. But you talked about the spine earlier, Ills. The spine of our team haven't even connected with Arsenal properly yet, because they haven't played enough. No. Unfortunately. And listen, I said this previously, Sophie, and I'm going to say it again. I think if we don't get all our players back, I think the players are going to get Arteta the sack, right? So there's going to be a new manager. And every manager is trying to find the winning formula. But we know what the winning formula is. The winning formula is the fans and the players having a connection where the fans know what you can expect when the Arsenal team cross the white line. That is the formula. When you don't know what you're going to get, this isn't football. This isn't the Arsenal for me.
Well, I like that comment I had up just a second ago. It becomes a bit more of entitlement than honor. And I wanted to ask you this you guys, because I also want to get your take on being a player that might sniff that they're getting transferred, moved on, and if it happens last minute or not. And I wanted to get your takes on Maitland-Niles, right? I think we all agree that he can play a part in this team. He may not be able to play the part that he's always wanted. However, the club have also tried to sell him twice now. Could have done it to Wolves and then pulled the plug, and then he was told that he would be part of the plans and then didn't get a sniff, really. Everton wanted him, and of course they didn't meet the evaluation. Same thing with Xhaka and Roma. And in this instance, you also have to say we've killed the club in the past for giving players away for nothing. So if they pulled the plug on that deal,
fair enough.
Then so be it. Fair enough, right? David, I'll start with you. I could see his frustration based on those things. It's like, do you want me? Do you not? Do you love me? Do you not? Do you want me to play for you? Do you not? You've told me you want to sell me twice and now you want me back. I understand that going against your employer on social media isn't the best idea, but I can also see Maitland-Niles' perspective of maybe not feeling the love. Can you talk me through what you think about that whole situation as players, please, the two of you?
Well, I think, first of all, the social media aspect, I think sometimes you do get a little bit frustrated, and it's very easy to try and vent just with one little comment. You know, it might be not too harsh, might just say that I'm not happy with the situation or whatever. But so I wouldn't look too deep into that. What I would say is that I do feel he's got a case over the last couple of seasons that he could have been pushed a bit more in the team. He could have been given more opportunity and a more consistent role and position in the side. He did get shifted from right to left and sometimes even pushed up into the midfield where we saw another side of him. So when we're questioning where he plays, I think at the end of the day, he's going to start questioning it. You can have one, maybe two utility players in the team, but everybody, you know what I feel like, Sophie, Kev. I like players that are dedicated in positions because you know what you're getting there. You know, it's easy to manage and players know where they stand. But when you shift them all around, you don't know whether you're going to play from week to week with the rotation and different cup games and that. But he's certainly got a case, and I think it goes back to what we was talking about earlier as well, regarding career choices. Do you do them out of integrity, or do you do them because it's a career choice? You've got to maximize it, and players these days in a career, 10 years of working, can sort their life out, and potentially maybe their close family. So there's some big decisions to make. There's them influences weren't there when me and Kev was young. It was about playing football, and if you was lucky, buying a car for your dad, you know, when you got a decent move or something like that. So that was kind of certainly my ambitions back in the day. So I didn't have those influences. But I can understand his frustrations, certainly, about being not picked in the side, because he played decent, and he could have been worked on, and he could have been he could have been given a position, you know, made a position for him in that fullback. But you know, I can see why he and his agent are probably pushing a move to Everton now, because I think financially and potentially for his football, it could be better for him. But I think sometimes football slips into the background a little bit at these times for players, unfortunately. I don't know how Kev feels about that.
Kev, I mentioned on a podcast earlier today that a player's career is finite. You know, the rest of us are mere mortals. We get to work until 60, 65. You know that, or you can retire earlier if you make a ton of money. But a player's career is like when he starts out, he knows at some point in his 30s, mid-30s, you know, touch wood, if there's no injuries, that's the career span. Mm-hmm. And there's at least 2 big contracts within that span, maybe 3, that you're really going to capitalize on your career. You got to pay the mortgage, keep the lights on. And I don't care what anyone says, people live to a standard and players live to a standard. We all live to a standard of our income. But with Maitland-Niles, he's had these opportunities and they haven't quite come off for him. I know how you feel about this kind of stuff in terms of going public, but do you feel like the mixed messages is part of the problem with some of the management of the player? And what do you think about Maitland-Niles and maybe how he's behaved?
Well, you know, I feel very strongly about this, Sophie, and I don't know what the mixed messages are. Because at the end of the day, Ainsley Maitland-Niles has not been a starter for Arsenal. He's not. And what tends to happen is the periphery players tend to, if you notice, now that the window's closing, Ainsley Maitland-Niles all of a sudden has come out and said on social media that all he wants to do is play. Why didn't he say that at the start of pre-season? Do you understand what I mean? So that means
he didn't have to, did he?
No,
Maybe,
but why
because
not?
of the information he had at the time.
No, but here's the point, Sophie. The fact of the matter is, now that there's an opportunity that suits him, he's come out and said, all I want to do is play football. But he wasn't starting, he wasn't playing all the games in pre-season. He hasn't been a starter at Arsenal. So my point is, why not say it in pre-season? Where, okay, Mikel, if I'm not playing, get me a move. But now you leave it with 24 hours to go. It's a bit. It's kind of trying to back the club into a position. And you know what, Sophie? You said it earlier on, which is a really good point. The club have been lambasted over a period for giving players away and doing things that suit players and not the football club. We need money. If you want to move, get Everton to stump up. If they're not going to stump up, sit down. And now that you've gone public, which I believe was advice from his agent, and he went public and it kind of backfired, I believe the best scenario has happened. They've had clear the ear talks at Arsenal, and apparently he's back in the running now. I think that's the best thing for everybody because he is a talented player. But one thing, he's not a starter. He started at fullback. He's had good games. He's had bad games. He started in midfield. He's had good games. He's had bad games. So what do we do?
I think looking back, hindsight 2020 is we should have sold him to Wolves when we had the chance to make 20 odd million. You know, that was our mistake as a club.
That's right.
Again, you know, and now we're in this situation. My fan perspective here is I bet he doesn't get many chances this season. I bet he doesn't. He will if players get injured. But without European football, this new kid from Japan's probably going to be the starter. And he will get the odd appearance coming off the bench. Right, I wanted to get stuck into this. So we've got Ben White, we've got Lokonga, we've got Tavares, we got Ødegaard back. We have, I'm going to call him Double
Ramsdale.
T.
Ramsdale.
We got Ramsdale. A decent window, I think. David, Kev gave it was it a 6, Kev?
I gave it 6. Yeah, I gave it
a 6 out of 10. David, I need to get your grade before I move on to see how these guys are all going to mesh, because I know Kev's got a pressing question for you and I wanted to bring up a subject that will lead to that. What's your grade for the Arsenal in this window?
I'm always a little bit sceptical about giving grades because back when I was a player, I probably used to get the most 5s and 6s in the Sunday papers. when I definitely thought I deserved an 8 and a 9 from the effort at least. So yeah, I'm a bit worried giving out 8, but yeah, I'll be around about the same really. 5, maybe even 5, 6. I think without that star player or those two or a couple of real big key players that, you know, let's face it, Arsenal are not in Europe. They're not looking to be looking like a top 2 club or top 3 club at the moment. So anyone potentially looking at Arsenal any of the top probably 10 players in the world would just be putting Arsenal to one side, which is unfortunate, but it's the nature of the market we're in. So, but I think, yeah, probably I'll be around about with Kev 5 or 6. There's a bit of potential for development there, certainly with Ben White. I like Tavares. I like him. I like him. I think he looks like a sharp player. He's a big lad. I like Lokonga. I think he looks like he could have a little bit about him, get him alongside Thomas Partey, a fit Thomas Partey, and you might have that sort of drive in the midfield that Arsenal have been lacking. And then that leads to the sort of spine with Ben White, you know, potentially, you know, a great prospect. He's the sort of player that could be a Tony Adams, or, you know, maybe not as great as that, but sort of go on to sort of them sort of paths. So yeah, not too bad.
Or at least our Harry Maguire or John Stones, or
absolutely. Yeah, he's never going to be Tony, obviously, because he didn't start when he was like free, loving Arsenal, probably because that's what Tony did. So but You know what I mean? I mean, there's potential there, but yeah, five, six.
And I agree with Shate here. You know, players like Partey coming in. I'm gonna try and encapsulate my question because I want you guys to just riff off each other next, because there's Partey needs to come back in. Gabriel needs to come back in, and they got to step up. We need them. They've got to be huge. Pepe, when he comes back as well, we're going to need him. We're going to need him to get a lot more goals this season and be much more proactive and ruthless offensively. But I want to take it back a little because I know, Dave, you've got some strong feelings about the start of the season. And I know Kev has made it clear in terms of how he feels. I think losing to Brentford magnified how terrible things are because they're a newly promoted team. We lost to them in a horrific fashion. And then you lose to the champions of England and the champions of Europe. And that's kind of expected for Arsenal these days. But it's the manner in which we lost that made fans lose their marbles completely. And also Arteta perhaps got things a little bit wrong. But I want you guys to now take me into this situation, because for me, when we get to Norwich, I'd like to see give Ramsdale a chance against the Norwich team in goal. See how he plays out the back with his feet. Let's see that against Norwich. Let's not experiment against Man City. I'd like to see Tierney, Gabriel, Ben White, double T on the right, Lokonga and Partey, and then you have an Odegaard, an Emil Smith-Rowe, and you've got Aubameyang, Xhaka, and Pepe, right?
You've got too many players.
I know I do, but I'm just saying, like, whether it's one or the other, going forward, we've got Aubameyang, we've got Lacazette, we've got Pepe, we've got Martinelli, we've got Saka, we've got Emil Smith-Rowe, we've got Odegaard. I mean, those are good players, you guys. Those aren't bad players, right? So let's just say that's the team. Notice I didn't mention one player, and that is Xhaka. Okay? So I'm going to let you guys go on this one, because as these new players come in, what is the example that you're going to set? What team, Mikel Arteta, are you going to put out there to show this is Mikel Arteta's Arsenal? This isn't Wenger or Emery's Arsenal, because he's still going to play Aubameyang. He's our best striker, right? Can you talk me through that, especially when you see Xhaka get sent off against Manchester City? Is it possible? Go on, Dave. I think you know where I'm going with it.
Yeah. I'm going to start. I'm not going to start with the team. I'm going to start with the manager, because I've been quite light on Mikel. I've not really got into him and had a go at him, anything like that. I'm not interested in digging someone out. But I looked at his team selection, and you talk about, you know, great players. You mentioned Odegaard, Xhaka, Smith-Rowe. Odegaard played against Man City and he was just shoved out on the right-hand side and couldn't get into the game because he was being pushed back by a left-sided, João Cancelo on that left side. He was just, you know, focused on him for most of the game. He wasn't playing his own game. That ain't Odegaard's choice. So you can have these great players, but if you put them in places where they're not going to be effective, that'll be my first port of call with the first few games of the season. There's a bit of an inconsistency in our shape as well. Although we always seem to set out with, you know, as against Man City, we had 5 across the back with 2 in front, 1 in front, 3, then 1, or we'll go 4, 2, 3, 1. Although it seems like that, we have this fluidity about us. And you'll hear me talking loads of times about people having dedicated positions. I think that fluidity masks a little bit of maybe the manager's inability to place people in the right positions and train them properly in those positions. I'm just going to say that now. I see players being asked to do things that it's not in their game. And I think that's...
Like what, Ills? Like what?
Like I see, for example, Odegaard being asked to play on the right-hand side. He's predominantly a left-hand-sided player. I would like to see him more central, where he's feeding passes in rather than closing people down. I don't think he should be the person that starts down a shutting down move, a pressing.
But he has played on the right.
Yeah, he has played on the right. But what I'm saying is, Kev, I think the way Mikel plays them now, he's got this attitude and feeling how he wants to play football, that everyone can be like Man City. They can all be fluid. They can all run inside and outside of each other. You know, Barcelona style. It ain't like that with some players. And I think that's where Arsenal are going wrong. And in these first few games, the inconsistency in the shape and the way that players are being asked to play, I think is a big factor. I think if he said to, I think, and it may be simple, I think if he went 4-4-2, got a bit more, 2 players down the middle to support, and got his team working around that, I think it'd be better. But I don't know if the players would accept that. But that's just my feeling. I think he's just been all over the place with selection and what he's asking players to do.
All right then, Hills. Okay. We change systems, but the fundamentals of football are still the same. You still have to run. You still have to defend. You still have to attack. You still have to challenge. Let's take Granit Xhaka, for instance. Granit Xhaka is our sitting midfielder, experienced Swiss international captain, who, for whatever reason, the club re-signed him. He's the only holding midfielder we got. So there's a responsibility with that position.
Absolutely.
As far as I am concerned, I'm just going to say this. I truly believe Granit Xhaka bailed on the team at Man City by getting sent off. I think he bailed because when you are the only midfielder to do that job, there is no way you can get sent off, or there's no way you would even take the risk of getting sent off. But yet he gets sent off again. Pressure situation, and now going to miss 3 games. To me, this is an embarrassment. To me, Hills, you're a midfielder, so that's why I want to ask you. You've played holding midfield many times, Hills, and you've had that responsibility on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Why you never went and got sent off?
No, and I do agree absolutely with what you're saying. I'm not sure if he bailed. I don't know if he thought about it before he did it, but I think his action, got him that consequence, and I think it suited him. It was an easy one to get out of. Unless he'd been in a 50-50 and got a nasty challenge, he could have said, "Oh, I've got a bad ankle now," and limped off. But he didn't have to do that. But going back to my point, if you played Granit Xhaka in a simpler system, where he didn't have to go out and run out right out to where the right backs are and the left backs are, and he was just held in the middle, and he didn't have to. The way we're playing at the moment, Kev, trying to push a player on down the left-hand side that's maybe not, how can I say, I wouldn't say 100%, but Tierney's not been at his best the last couple since the start of the season, really. He's not been 100% like he was last season. So we're still trying to force that. Granit gets dragged into those positions, into fullback positions where he don't make good decisions. We know that. He's made bad decisions many a time in those areas. So for me as a manager, I wouldn't be allowing him to go into them positions. I'd be saying, you've just got to cover my centre backs. Why he makes these decisions, I don't know.
That's Hills. In theory, that's fine.
Well, he needs to listen to his manager, because if my manager was telling me to stay in there and do that job, I'd be doing that. So then maybe
but Hills, in theory, that's fine. Okay, in theory, you play 4-4-2 and you stick to your spots and all that. He's not athletic enough, for one. But my point is this: he got sent off against Burnley last season.
Yeah.
When we really needed him, and he's grabbed somebody round the neck in the heat of battle, bailed. As far as I'm concerned, he's our centre midfielder, Hills. He's one of the keys to helping us get back at the Emirates, and he goes and gets sent off. And here we are against Manchester City, lost the first 2 games, and he goes in for a stupid challenge.
And what did his manager do when he walked off the pitch?
Patted him on the butt.
What did his manager do? What would George have done to you, Kev?
No,
what would Pat Rice have done to you?
It wouldn't happen. But here's my point. Mikel Arteta called him out in the press conference, which was the right thing to do, right?
No, because he felt pressure to do that.
Because it
I
left
think that's
us
the wrong way round, Kev. I think that's a little bit the wrong way round.
Yeah, but whatever you think, whether you think it's the right way, wrong way, he had to go. But here's the issue, Ills. This is the problem. If a player who is a captain at our football club and he's the only holding midfield player we got, doesn't know the responsibility of staying on the pitch, is an expensive liability.
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Can I jump in for 1 second? Because I've been, when Kev, we were talking about Xhaka, and he mentioned that he wanted to ask you this, and I couldn't wait for him to ask you, because you've been sent off 11 times in your career, 4 times since he's joined the Arsenal, and that is more than any other player in the Premier League, right? He makes terrible decisions. And a lot of us stood by Xhaka because we felt like he didn't deserve the abuse he was getting, because it felt like every time we lost or whenever anything bad happened, it would be Xhaka's fault. But when you're put on a pedestal by the football club and your managers, and they've all done it, Wenger, Emery, Arteta, I don't know why this guy is immune to any of this. And I think Arteta, Kev, backed him in the slated him in the press conference because the backlash of what he did when he was sent off. I'm telling you, you just can't do that. When you've killed Pepe and you've killed other players for bad behaviour, this is where Arsenal fans, I put Amir's comment up, the action by Arteta proves he has double standards for players he likes and doesn't. And I think that's where the rubber meets the road for a lot of fans. So as a fan, I'm saying to you guys, it just smacked of, I can't do it, 2-0. And then goes in, Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe are more mature than him on the pitch. So if you're his teammate, don't you want to smack him in the mouth at halftime in the dressing room?
100%. He's left us. He's bailed. I'm telling you. Ills, you've been involved in football. I've been involved in football.
You don't need to make them decisions that he makes. Definitely. I don't know whether he just loses his head or whether he just think, fuck it, I want to get out of here. Maybe he does. I've got sent off, I think, 3 times, and they was always because that player had hurt me earlier on the game and done something bad to me, and I just wanted to hurt him. It was nothing to do with the game. Because if the game needed me to stay on the pitch, I stayed on the pitch. Yeah. Regardless of what I wanted to do. I remember Nick Henry up at Oldham. I owed him from when I was at Arsenal. And it was the first game I played for Portsmouth. And we was winning 1-0. There was 10 minutes to go. We weren't going to lose. And I just thought, you know what? This is the time.
It's time.
And it happened. And, and that's, for me, I've done exactly the opposite of what Granit Xhaka's done. And I've taken into consideration the team, the result, everything.
Situation.
I may have given myself a little 5-minute window at the end when we could have lost it. But, yeah, I think you don't make them decisions. You can't. No players do. You don't see crap decisions regularly. But I think what he does is, I think he probably bows out in his head, Kev, of the game. That's what he does. I think he says, I don't really care if I'm part of this. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And if that's that ball, I'm going to make a shit challenge and I go off. I don't care. That's the wrong thing. He should be thinking, I'm going to run 5 yards faster, quicker to get in the right position and then stand still. Because that's all he had to do in that challenge. He was already there. He just had to stay on his feet. He didn't have nowhere to go. So something obviously goes through his mind where he's got a bit of the fuckums about him. And he can't be protected. And he shouldn't have been over all these times.
Kev, are you excited? And this is to both of you, because the fans are. Look, it is what it is. I can't wait to see Arsenal without him for the next 3 games in the league.
I think the quicker we get Thomas Partey and Lokonga in the centre of the pitch, the better. That's what I think. Because we need, I tell you what we need that to be the re-emergence. So you got Norwich away, you got Burnley at home, and then you got the North London derby. That's the 3 games for kind of a redemption with Xhaka out the team. That's what we need. We need 3 wins. We get 3 wins, and it really should spell the end of Granit Xhaka.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably will. But I know this is going to sound really weird after what I just said and about Granit. But when you look at experience, and if he has a good game and a steady game, you know, if he has his little 75 passes, 95% passing accuracy, and he just sits in the middle, and that's all he's got to do, and just make those little passes, he's a good asset in that team. But the question is, can he? At the moment, I don't know if they need that. I think, like Kev, I think they need to be driving forward with a partnership, not just sitting back hoping they get through a game. I think we've got to be looking to push through a game. You know,
someone else from that midfield has to empty.
Partey, I think Lokonga and Partey in there, you know, I think they would be. I think Lokonga would push right on up the pitch as well. We've seen him sitting deep because he's almost worried about Xhaka when he's played alongside him. I have noticed that about him. He's almost protecting Xhaka a little bit because he's worried. I think with Partey, he might feel a bit freer. So
I remember when Kev saw Xhaka start playing with Partey, and he was, remember that WhatsApp, and he came on the show, he's like, I can't believe it. Xhaka's making forward passes. You know, you guys have been there. Depending on who you're playing with, you can improve as a player or regress as a player. And there's no doubt that partnership a little bit, when we did see it with Partey, I think also gave him a little bit of form going into, which is why we saw the best of him in the Euros as well. They had trust, and we talked about trust, didn't we, Kev? By the way, Hilsey, everyone is loving your honesty about that dirty tackle. And those are the things you get to hear on this show, everyone, because look, at the end of the day, we need a little bit of shithousery in our team, but we need smart shithousery. You know, like Kieran Tierney has that about him. He'll smack talk. We've seen it. We've seen the videos. You need that. And going forward and being in the league, you can't afford the liability of a Xhaka. And I'm amazed how some Arsenal fans now even say, I wish David Luiz was here just for one more season. You know,
they didn't want him.
I'm not too sure about that.
no, for experience,
for experience,
because we're down on experience.
Yeah,
which is why
maybe his head on a 25-year-old body, but that was a little
which
bit
is why
quicker.
I like Guendouzi. Which is why, as a fan, I liked his. Look, he's a punk, but I liked that he was willing to put himself out there. And it's like anyone touched his teammate. I mean, he was a bit of an idiot about it.
He was giving it all that.
I mean, but we need some shithousery. We need you in midfield.
But
and
that's where the mental toughness comes, Soph. You know,
how do we develop that?
We hear about teams of mental. It's mental toughness, Soph, is a feeling and a trust. When you look around that dressing room, I trust Dave Hillier. I know my back 5 are going to be there. I know my midfielders are going to be there. So you trust yourself. And again, crossing that white line, Sophie, things are going to happen on the pitch that you need to deal with. And you can't be looking to the manager to sort it out. You are the ones who have to, on that pitch, you've got to sort it out. And if there's 1 or 2 players on the opposition who need straightening out, that's what you have.
And Kev, I'm going to jump in there because you can't judge a player's contribution or what he's doing by the way he runs around and the way he's animated and the way he shouts at players and he looks like he's trying to do his best for the side, like our little mate Guendouzi does. I played with a player called Stevie Williams who didn't travel more than 5K in a game probably, and didn't run more than 20 or 40 meters if he had to. But he would command situations, and you could trust him, and he would make decisions, that were just spot on for you and for the people around him. And he didn't have to run around convincing everybody that he was committed to the club. He was committed to Stevie Williams, but he was in the moment on the pitch. That sounds a bit like Arteta, doesn't it? In the moment. Shit, I can't believe I said that. Can you wipe that out?
No.
But when he's on the pitch, right, when he crossed that white line, he was dedicated to his team and the game, doing what he needed to do, covering the little spaces and doing little bits and pieces, and occasionally having to step in and put his foot in or whatever. But everybody was like that, and there was a respect from other teams that did it to you. It was part of the game then, and I don't know if that's been lost a little bit as well. There obviously are players that can do it. Top players can do it, and top teams still do it, and control situations.
So our own captain came out after the City game and said we need to have a player meeting. We need to take a look at ourselves. Our own captain doesn't trust his teammates. You guys had a team where you trusted each other. No one was. You knew that no one was going to let you down.
We had loads of meetings, Soph.
But we trusted the manager. Kev. We trusted the manager.
No, but we if you remember, Ills, before we went out to train, we would be in the medical room.
Yeah.
And we'd have meetings. Sophie, this is what the teams do. You have meetings about meetings about meetings. And anything that needs to get straightened out as a group, you deal with it.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think that's very important. And I love it when players do that. But it was obvious the way Aubameyang was talking was that there is a massive lack of trust among each other once they're in game mode. And I don't know if that comes from fear, Kev.
No, do you know why, Soph? Here's the
manager doesn't prepare them properly.
Well, listen, you can say he doesn't prepare them properly. Of course you can.
No, go on. I was being cheeky. Tell me why.
But because of the result, you could say he doesn't prepare them properly. That's fine. But here's, as a player, what you feel on the pitch. And I'm sure Dave could chip in. When you are playing as a striker and you're going for it, and then the opposition go down the other end and get easy goals, that kills you. That kills you because it kills the game, your impetus and your momentum as an attacking force. Because now, all of a sudden, every time the opposition attack, because it is a Chelsea or a Man City, the moment you start opening up, you know what's going to happen because they are good players. They're going to expose you.
But you guys
but it's not even as if they had to work for the goals. And this isn't that, a wonderful ball was played and it cut us open, Sophie. And then, it was a great finish. It was basic defending opportunities that should have been dealt with, but wasn't. So as a striker, when I look back and I'm seeing easy goals going in, it gets you mad. It does. It gets you angry.
But you guys didn't give up. Name me a game where you guys threw in the. I think it was Curtis that said this is like the Rocky Apollo Creed versus Ivan Drago in Rocky 4. It's like someone just throwing the towel.
First game of the season, 93 against Norwich, wasn't it? Or was it 94? Who was winning, and then we got beat at home.
Yeah, but we didn't throw in the towle.
No, I'm only joking. I was just trying to find a game where we was losing and where we was winning, and we got beat by a crap side. No disrespect, Gossie and all the boys. But no, all of them. They're probably going to listen in later. Sorry, lads. I'm playing golf next week, so
to do well.
That was a European side. That Norwich team was a European team
and everything.
Yeah, they was a great side. No, I was joking. Really, I don't think there ever was a game when we felt like we'd give up on the cause. It was always worth fighting for because you've got your you're still playing for the badge, aren't you? At the end of the day, it's still got to walk off there as an Arsenal player. You can't walk off there incognito and go unnoticed. You know, you're going to get noticed when you walk off. So you've got to do the best. I remember Ray Wilkins saying to me, Dave, he said, you can have, you can have the worst game in the world, but if you give 150%, you're forgiven. As soon as you walk off the pitch, you're forgiven because you've worked hard and you've tried your best. And that's what I didn't see against City. And I think Kev's dead right. It was the fact that, I mean, even Pep Guardiola with that first goal on his interview after said, we just hadn't really done anything to even deserve an opportunity. So he was like so surprised, wasn't he? It was like, I don't know, like someone just kicked off from the centre and they just let someone go through and score. You might as well let them do that. And that does drag the team down. And then that happened again and again. It's hard for the forwards in them games. Of course,
and then you get a player sent off, Hills, is the point.
And then the decision.
Then you get your main holding midfielder sent off. And
yeah,
down to
the decision.
It's a wreck.
Making at that stage, even at that stage, right? Let's be honest. Most of the Arsenal players, and if I'd have been playing in that game, 2-0, was it 2-0 down? We was 2-0 down, weren't we?
2-0 when he got sent off, yeah.
2-0 when we did, right? So 2-0 down. I would have already in my head lost that game, right? But I'd have said, you know, we ain't gonna. It's gonna be a miracle if we get out of this. I wouldn't have given up the ghost, but I'd have conceded the fact that it was going to be a minimum of 2 goals they was going to score, and I was going to not let them get any more. That would be my game. So then I would never want to get sent off because I know that we'd lose by 10. So decision making in those situations, you just lose by 2. We'd have come off that pitch with George. If we'd have gone 2-0 down like that, played shit and got to 2-0 down, and then we'd have stayed at 2-0 down for the rest of the game, he'd have took us out for a beer that night. I'll tell you that. He'd have give us he'd have slated us for our start, but he'd have said we carried the club properly at the end of the game. We played properly.
You dug in.
We dug in. We did what we had to do.
I love that. You know, and that's what I think there's pride in losing 2-0. There is. It's bad.
They're
no one wants to lose.
They're
the champions of England, and they and Chelsea are the best teams in Europe right now. You know, of course, Bayern Munich are a great team, but those are the 3 top teams in the world right now. We've lost to 2 of them, and I know, you know, it's the manner in which we lost as fans. We're humiliated, guys. As fans, we don't want to be taken the piss out of. We're being ridiculed. We don't want to see the league table as it is right now. So I'm going to ask you this. I can't believe we've been on air for 1 hour and 17 minutes. That is unbelievable. I don't know where the time's gone. I could listen to you 2 all day. People thought you were going to go in harder on Arteta, Hilsey, but I'll ask you both this. I think I know Kevin's answer. How many games do you give him with this squad? What if we lose to Norwich? What if we only get a point and we go into the North London derby with 2 points?
Can't even think about that. It's just, well, I don't know if 3 wins would save his season, because even if they win 3 games and he loses 5 after that, he's going to be in the same situation. You know, once he starts winning, he's got to keep the team going. The team's got to do well, and they've got to build on that and climb the table. There's no doubt about that. There's no more. You know, the COVID graphs that go like that. There's no more of going down. There's no more of them for Arteta. He's got to stay on an even keel going up. That's how I feel. Any little drops are gonna cost him. But certainly, I think if by Tottenham we've not got a point on the table, I think his head will be on a chopping block that day, that game of the London derby. It will be they'll be waiting, the directors, to make a decision after that game. And you know, I don't like to see managers getting the sack, and I think he's worked his hardest and obviously tried his hardest with the squad. But for me personally, I just think disciplinarian, an older kind of much more greatly experienced manager, you know, someone in their sort of 50s who can get the respect of the players for what they've done in their careers as a manager needs to come in. I'm not sure if a new fresh manager would be the answer.
I know people think I'm crazy,
Kev. They've missed two opportunities to get an Allegri in, a Conte in. They've missed two opportunities. And the first one, they brought in Emery, who's a really good manager, a good coach. We know that. But in that dressing room it ended up getting him the sack, right? Because he didn't do so bad at the club. Although at the end, it went pear-shaped. Then once he got the sack, there was a great opportunity then to go in and get somebody of note. They still didn't take it because they wanted the new, shiny, we'll go and get Mikel Arteta, okay? Next 3 games is going to tell us so much about Mikel Arteta and this squad. For him, he needs Partey, he needs Gabriel, he needs Ben White, he needs all of the players that he signed who are fit, who can play, he needs them back for Norwich. Because we need to see a win. And if you're Norwich, Hills, you're rubbing your hands because you know the first thing they're going to do, they're going to challenge us physically. And they're going to see if we fancy it. That's number one. And if we don't fancy it, Norwich are going to put it on us and we're going to get beat. Just like
the thing is, Kev, the thing is, when, like, I think we said last week before on the Tuesdays Club, that we when you see a team sheet, right? When you see a team sheet that's got key players missing, or players that you would fear on a normal day's business, and they're missing, it straight away gives you a boost, straight away. And then what you do is you look at the team, and then you look at where they are in the league, and you look at how many goals they haven't scored, and you start looking at all that. That gives you belief as well. So come Norwich, it's got to be a big performance from the team, because they're going to have to not just have to play to their best. They're going to have to play better than that, because Norwich are going to fancy it against this side when they see it, especially if there's not Gabriel in there or Partey, you know, or even in my opinion, stick Lacazette and Aubameyang on the pitch.
Yes, I would.
Give everything you've got, put everything on there, and say, you show me that you know that you're bad players, or you show me how good you are. That's what he needs to say to them. But when you're in opposition, looking at a team sheet of a team that's not informed and a team that can't even field all their best players, you're going to fancy yourself. So I'm thinking Norwich is going to be a big call, and it's going to be a big call for those players who are coming back from injury as well. Do they want to come back into that game? Do you want to step into that hole that Granit Xhaka's left? You know, on your first game back from injury and not being in the side. I don't know.
Winston for me,
3 games. Massive.
Winston for me sums it up really well. He can't survive losing to 2 newly promoted teams in the first 5 or 6 games of the season. You can't have that. I don't care how new his squad is.
But he could have beat Chelsea.
He will.
If he beat Chelsea and Man City,
he will survive. He will survive. I'm telling you.
I know he will. But lose to Norwich, you're going into a tougher game with Burnley. Is this?
He will survive. He won't get sacked after Norwich if we lose. I can tell you that much.
No, I agree with you, Kev.
No, not after Norwich. I think it'll be 3-4 games, and then if it continues to go down and there's no,
and they'll pull the trigger
upturn when the players return as well. They'll give him the chance of the players returning. You can't judge him without those players in, you know, because he ain't in control of that. But
well, look, we can't lose to them, and everyone says, "Oh, we ain't losing to Norwich." Well, you said we ain't losing to Brentford as well, guys. So we could lose to anyone at this point because there's still a lot to happen, and I hope everyone comes back from the international break safe and sound. There's no COVID issues, fit. I mean, anything can happen. We might not have everybody ready to go. Unfortunately, that's what the international break does. So the other thing too is. you know, it's just it's a tough scenario when you think, okay, you know, we played the two toughest teams in Europe, but everyone has to be ready. But Arteta's the one that's got time to prepare now for that Norwich game. International break, he's got enough time, Kev, to prepare for this match.
But he hasn't, because he doesn't have the players.
No, but tactically in his mind, he can game plan. He can figure out what he needs to do, and yeah, he's going to have little time with the players on the training pitch.
I think he knows what he want to do, because I think he will know what he wants to do. But again, all that gets sometimes. All that could turn to crap if you get a couple of injuries, like we saw against Brentford, the COVID situation. Do you remember I mentioned about against Brentford, where when Brentford saw our team sheet and they saw no Lacazette and Aubameyang, regardless of whether they're scoring freely or not, the Brentford defense must have been going, "Oh, here we go, here we go." They have the threat that they have now is nowhere near what it would be with those two experience, because they will fear Lacazette and Aubameyang. And Lacazette and Aubameyang, it's time for them to turn up now.
Well, look, when we in our run up to the FA Cup, it was Oba, Laka, Pepe. They were on fire together, and I wouldn't mind seeing that for a little bit. I wouldn't mind letting Saka hit the bench for a while. I really don't. It would be good for him.
Pepe weren't even in the squad for Man City, was he?
No.
Am I wrong?
No.
He was ill, wasn't he?
He was ill. Yeah.
Is that the official line?
Stance. The official stance is he's ill.
Yes. All right. Well, look, that is your lot. The Tuesday-ish Club, an hour, 26 minutes of pure...
Is it finished already?
I know. I don't want to go.
I didn't even finish my beer. I only had 2 sips.
All right, let's stay until you finish your beer, because I'm going to get some questions up for you guys, okay? Seeing as I have all of you guys here. A lot of comments coming in. They want to know a lot from you guys. So get your questions in if you have anything for the boys, and I'm going to rewind here a little bit. And get a couple out for you. One of the things that a lot of players, my players in chat, wanted to know. Kev has answered this before, but after the City game, I don't know if he's changed his mind with some. David, do you feel that he's lost the dressing room? Not entirely, but he has the ear of some players, but not the ear of others.
I think it's difficult in the modern dressing room. The dynamics in there, obviously, you've got players who are, on ridiculous salaries and living ridiculous lifestyles, and then you've got players that are wanting to come up and quite happy to grind a living out, even on the lower salaries. I think that is something that you have to manage, because along with that, after a few years, you do get egos. So I think as a young manager, it can be difficult to manage those egos, especially when he's such a level-headed fella as well, Arteta. You can imagine him, money not being an issue to him. He's not concerned about that. He just wants to do his job properly, 100%. I'll get that. But there'll be a conflict there, I think. And that's why I believe that with the older manager, the more experienced, you've just it's that old thing, respecting your elders. It's difficult for me as a 50-year-old bloke. I wouldn't be able to work with someone who's 30 and my manager. I wouldn't be able to do it. I couldn't do it in the fire service. Is why I left, basically. And so that respect that he needs, I don't know if he can get at this stage in his career from that dressing room. I wouldn't say he's lost the dressing room, if that's kind of a
that's a good one. I've got a very fair, and you know what, towards the end of my publicity career in the entertainment industry, you had millennials coming in, and there was some that super smart and I learned from, and some that you're just like, hey, you just want to, not being funny, but you want to
straighten them out.
Yeah, if I'm being honest. And sometimes
the trouble is, when you're in the fire service and you do that, like I did, you get in trouble. So
Oh yeah, you can't do that. You get in trouble at 20th Century Fox if you do that.
Yeah, I'm just, I did a slide tackle when I shouldn't have, and I did a bit of a granite Xhaka because I got pissed off. And it was the kind of the management thing. I lost respect for management because of that. So because of the lack of I don't know what the word is when you grow into a role and then you have to achieve a certain level and go through the stages before you're acclaimed as that, a manager or a top manager. And I think when people could just go tick, 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 and be there, and then they start spouting at you, I don't know if you take it in. I don't know if everybody takes it in. So maybe not everybody's taking it in the dressing room, relating to that kind of thing. Yeah. But that's why but I'm old school. Like I said, old manager, headmaster style, bring in the discipline, bring in the stick. That's fine. Beat me with it when I don't do good and praise me when I do well. That's simple. This is
why, Kev, I think we whiffed on Benitez. Do you remember when everyone turned their noses up at the idea of maybe signing Rafa Benitez? Yeah. To me, he's the last of that group that would have been a good solution for the Arsenal. And a lot of people in chat, you guys have said maybe that's why he's signing a lot of young players because he.
But you look at Ancelotti, even Ancelotti when he went up to Everton and that, Kev, didn't he? He still got everyone behind him because of everything that he was. That was what was important, and he didn't like fail on his integrity. He stayed the same manager as he's been at every club.
Yeah, he's earned the respect straight away. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing, and you mentioned Everton, and Everton have gone kind of under the radar. Nobody's really talking about Everton.
They started off great.
And look at the money what Rafa Benitez has spent. He 1.7 million on Demarai Gray. He brought Andros Townsend in, and he brought Begovic. And here they are, up there, looking a lot more solid. They've suffered stupid goals at the back, and now all of a sudden they go to Brighton and win 2-0 at Brighton, and they're looking good. And I think they're going to do a couple of bits and pieces in this window just to finish off. And you're building slowly, aren't you? But in any dressing room, Sophie, the players that you have to keep happy are the ones who are not playing. The ones who are playing are happy. You haven't really got to do much with them. But the players who are not playing, they're the ones who are kind of disgruntled. And this is why we see the Maitland-Niles of this world coming out and this one and that one, because they're not playing. All players should want to play.
Is that how cliques develop in the dressing room, Kev, then? Like you and David have been in dressing rooms when you're playing, you're always starting. And then there's the little moaners who maybe aren't. Is that how things start off getting a little darker and ugly?
It happened to me, Sophie, at Arsenal when Ian Wright came in. I was starting, I was playing, and then I was a title winner. And then Ian Wright came in and I found myself out of the team. But there was no knocking on the manager's door or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, I love the football club. And what do I need to do to get in the team? That's my mentality. So I went on the training pitch and worked at my craft. Hills did. But that was the mentality then, because you want to be a part of Arsenal.
But you, Kev, and me had that trained into us prior to that from 14 and 15. Because when we didn't play well in the South East counties, it would be the following Thursday. Pat Rice would run us up and down the JVC or something, or he would stand in front of Kev. I've seen him spit in your face, Kev, nearly spraying, like shouting at you. Why did you do this, do that? Get back out on that training. And Kev just went, let's get a bag of balls then and let's go. And that's what you did, and we accepted that. And but because we had it from such a young age and it came all the way through, it weren't no different. We didn't feel precious when we was in the team getting bollocked by George Graham if we weren't doing it. We didn't feel precious. No. We accepted that we had a job to do that we signed up for years ago when we signed for Arsenal. And then when you move to another club, you do try and replicate that feeling. Definitely, you try and give everything to it. It's never the same, though. It's never the same. And it is easier. And I shouldn't have to say this on air, but it's easier to bail out when you're not at your mother club, if you know what I mean. It's easy to bail out on them. Easier in times of hardship, I suppose for Granit Xhaka, but I couldn't bail out for Arsenal. Even if I played in a celebrity 11, I'm not pulling out of a challenge. I'm not winning that game because I still got that. It's weird. It is a weird thing.
I think for us fans, it's when you see Klopp, he's fully in control at Liverpool in every aspect. Same with Pep at City. Tuchel's come in and basically, been the boss at Chelsea in a short space of time. And you always knew Graham was in charge. You always knew that. You always knew it was Wenger was in charge, but then towards the end, the kid started running the asylum, right? And a little bit with Arteta, you get the sense that he's in charge, but he doesn't have the respect yet. And every manager has an ego, but there's an ego that comes with respect, and I don't think he's got that yet. Okay, a couple more questions for you. This is a really interesting one from Clement. For me, this is no, never, ever.
Just the first part alone.
I'm just reading it.
I know where you're going, Clement.
I'm just reading it.
No thanks, Clement. No thanks.
I mean, absolutely no way no way is the answer. So no.
I think that's unanimous.
It's kind of no. I'm not going to accept relegation, and there's no way that I would accept it if it meant better owners.
No, never. No.
At the end of the day, it's about what goes on the pitch. If the owners were complete arseholes of any football club, but the club was successful, played really good football, and the fans had a wicked experience every time they went and watched them on a Saturday, they wouldn't give a shit about the owners. They wouldn't give a shit if the football was there. Believe me, they wouldn't. They want to see those 15 players on the pitch. That's what they go there for. They don't go there to see Edu or that smiling because his club are doing well. They go there to watch the players. I will move to Pluto or space. And I'm going to end with these two questions because they complement each other in a different way. Kev, start with you. Very funny, Aston. Would you accept it if it meant our problem players were benched for youth? No, I would never accept relegation. Accepting losing with players who fight for the shirt, Aston, is very different than saying that you accept relegation just to get rid of some terrible owners. I know Pluto is in space, but if I call Jeff Bezos, he may be able to get me a lift there. I'm just saying. Can you see us finishing in the top 6 still, or do you think that we are heading for a relegation battle? Kev, start that one with
relegation. When it's not going to be a relegation battle, but obviously with the way we've started, we just need to get back on track. That's what we need to do. We need to get back on track. We need to get our better players on the pitch, because unfortunately we do not have the size of squad where we can cope without our better players, because we're not good enough.
David?
Yeah, need to get players fit. Need to have your best squad available every week. The consistency and the fitness of the squad are going to be key for this season in achieving a decent finish.
Okay.
I think all players are talented. We know that our first 11 are, you named them earlier, Sophie. I think you named the first 12 actually, like Kev said. I think you're playing with that extra player. But the 12 players you did name, the 12 players you did name would do well in anyone's fantasy league team if they were fit every week, playing regular. That's what's needed to achieve that position. Whether we achieve that or not, I don't know. But it won't be relegation, that's for sure, because the badge will kick in. Believe me, it will kick in, and they'll have to do something about it. But it's going to be interesting in the next few weeks. The results are going to define what happens management-wise, I think.
It really is. And apparently Overmars has said to Ray Parlour, I don't know if this is true, that he wouldn't mind joining Arsenal. I think there's a ready-made replacement if Edu goes, if it doesn't work out. But we
I
shall
thought you
see.
meant as right wing. I thought Overmars. he was looking a bit tubby last time I saw him. Right, Overmars on the left, Ray on the right.
Oh man, what a player as well. And by the way, Arsenal fans, just because Andrea Pirlo texts something on his Instagram, everyone's having a meltdown right now. Do you listen? I'll tell you, even I'm going to say this. I would rather stick with Arteta than have Pirlo as manager of Arsenal. And I said that out loud. Can you believe it? But come on, let's not be crazy here. Right. That has been another brilliant Tuesday-ish club. Right, guys?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Always great debating with Hills and listening to, because Hills is a midfielder. Again, the engine room, which we talk about, is key to any team. He was a part of a successful one. It's really important to listen to what he's got to say. And I'm so pleased you said that about Xhaka as well, because he's an expensive liability.
Yeah, he is. And I'm quite a humble midfielder as well, Kev. I don't profess to have been anything other than a grafter, but I had little bits about me. I could do a little bit. But what I like about it is the fact that fundamentally, and we was taught when we was a kid, it's a really simple game, football. You've just got to keep the ball, score a goal, and not let the other team score. And then you can't lose. And if you do that on a regular basis, you'll get somewhere. That's what I was told when I was like 9 and 10. And, I carried that through. I just done it, obviously, at a better level and had some great players around me. But it is simply a case of, first of all, you've got to graft. You've got to graft. And you've got to want to graft. That's the key. You've got to want to. That's what these players need to get back to in the next couple of games. I want to see him dripping with sweat. I want to see him cramping up with 10 minutes to go, because that's how important it is at the moment.
Okay, so brilliant stuff. And everyone in chat is saying that of all the transfer shows today, this was really refreshing to listen to. And we're happy that you feel that way, guys, because we feel the same way too. You can go to Sky Sports and look at who's signed for who and whatever, but to get the player perspective on being there and having been through transfer windows and then seeing where the Arsenal are going to go, I thank you both very, very much for your insights. And before I hand it over to Kev to close for us, don't forget that last season we only finished 1 point behind Tottenham. Now, they won the league in December last season, and this season they've won it in August.
Yeah.
All right, so just don't forget, in our darkest times and on our knees, being the most garbage we've ever been, apparently, we only finished 1 point behind our rival. Now, they're not the barometer, but it just gives you an example of how the season is yet to be very long.
To take shape, yeah.
Go on, Kev.
Well, listen, how many were watching, please? Because
we had 600 at the height, and bringing Vinny out right now because they
Go
know
on,
what to do,
Vinny,
because I've
hit
all
it,
Tottenham
Vinny.
out.
Show them what to do, Vinny. Go on. Hit the like button, please. Listen, Dave Hillier, my best pal, and my buddy from South London, coming on as always and spitting some proper truth. Hostess with the mostest, Sophie, always getting the best out of us with the questions. And you squaddies have always been fantastic. So, listen, squaddies, all the very best. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to join Sophie. And what is it tomorrow, Sophie? Is it Wednesday Women tomorrow?
It's Wednesday Women, although I'm thinking about taking tomorrow. It's my birthday, you see, not tomorrow, but later on in the week. So I may take a day off, and I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or Thursday. So I'll let everyone know. But it will be Wednesday Women if that's the case.
Well, if you don't join us, that means there's no show because Sophie's having a personal time. But listen, next time you do join us, minimum, you're going to join Sophie and I, and we're going to cut it up. And I might have to brock some of you up. So, squaddies, I love you, and I salute you.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.